Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I've got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
Oh, things are going pretty good. I'm excited to get going on some stuff and hanging with the dogs, playing some great games. Been watching some good shows lately. And yeah, life's good over here. How about you, man? You still dealing with that nasty lung thing or
Yeah, I want to talk about that bit later because it kind of got a bit more serious. But other than that, no, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a good week. Gaming news has been good. Got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. I mean, before we get into all the gaming stuff and what we've been playing, uh, you know, I've mentioned before I've been getting back into wrestling this year because it's all on Netflix. Why not? I'm already paying for it, so I may as well watch what's there. So it was the pay-per-view this weekend, the Elimination Chamber. Let me tell you, since all this wrestling stuff started coming to Netflix in January, I've been thinking like I don't feel invested anymore. Last time I was invested, I was a kid, right? I was seeing Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, The Rock, Triple H wrestle basically every week, and I felt engrossed in the storylines. And ever since, you know, um, I quit watching wrestling. I haven't been feeling the need to watch it. And since I start watching wrestling again, I haven't felt invested in the storylines. I haven't felt invested in anything related to WWE. So anyway, I watched this pay-per-view on Saturday. Let me tell you, it's possibly one of the best pay-per-views I've ever seen. My God. Like, as someone that hasn't watched in 20 years, I was there. I was invested. My jaw was on the floor when John Cena turned heel. I mean, I'm guessing, Logan, even though you didn't watch it, you've seen the memes.
Oh yes, 100%.
Yeah, like, bear in mind, I haven't watched in 20 years, and my jaw was on the floor. It was 3:30 in the morning. I'm just like, wow, they did that. Like, completely blindsided everyone. And it was a bit corny that The Rock came out and asked Cody Rhodes if he could have his soul. That's a bit much. We are jumping the shark at this point, but it was an entertaining show. You know, two elimination chamber matches. You have the women's tag match, and there was a no holds barred, no disqualifications match. Can't remember what it was called. Bloody good entertainment. If people are on the fence to start watching wrestling again, watch the Elimination Chamber. My God, what a show! Um, Now I'm invested. Anyway, all that stuff aside, it's been a good week of gaming. Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Oh, been playing a ton of Avowed. I'm in the fourth section, and it's really interesting. It reminds me very much of Mordor, kind of.
Oh
To
yeah,
you know, not get too spoilery. And there's even a Lord of the Rings side quest kind of hint in there, which is funny. And yeah, I've been playing that. Been made a ton of progress going back and you know, clearing out the maps on all the levels so far to make sure I haven't missed anything. Just that game is brilliant. I absolutely love Avowed. Definitely want an expansion and sequel. Been playing that. Played a few matches of Balatro. Jumped back into Power Wash today because the Wallace and Gromit DLC hit,
nice.
and it is super true to world and it is hilarious. I've been playing that and excited to I'm gonna jump back into Tony Hawk 1 and 2 to get ready for July.
Nice, nice. I think I think a lot of people will be getting into Tony Hawk again, which we'll be talking about later. But I've had a busy week gaming, like lots of Avowed. Uh, I mean, I'll get into Avowed in a second. I'll go over what else I've been playing. Metal Gear Solid HD Collection. That's basically what it is, just in 4K. Metal Gear Solid 3 is fantastic. Like I have so much nostalgia for that series. But playing them in 4K, and I mentioned last week, no more yellow filter. Uh, and I'm trying not to swear this show at on any level. Um, but that yellow filter we had in the 2000s, it got tired fast. Right? like I fired up Gears of War 3 the other day. It's like, yeah, there's the yellow filter. Everything had the yellow filter. I don't know what developers were thinking. Maybe it was a trend at the time. Maybe there was some polls going around. But for some reason, developers thought in between 2004 and 2012, the yellow filter made games look good, apparently. Well, guess what? They didn't. So playing the game without the filters being really nice. Actually noticing a lot more things in the environment, but hell, I'm going to be picking up the remake anyway, which also has the filter as an option, so which is nice. But yeah, that aside, been playing Death Stranding. That game makes no sense, but I love it. like, there's moments in that game where you can tell Kojima was just letting his unhinged self, like self, just go wild, make what he wanted. Because when he was working at Konami, it was kind of reeled in a bit, but yeah, with this, no, it's full on Kojima. A lot of it doesn't make sense. In fact, when they make this into a movie, I don't know how they're going to squeeze it into 2 hours, because that story goes places, and I'm only on chapter 7. But yeah, Avowed. I've been playing lots of Avowed, and let me tell you, I've put 20 hours into the first region. I literally just left last night. That game is wonderful, man. I talk about certain games wasting people's time. I call it bloatware. I'll always use Assassin's Creed Valhalla as the example where, it's a beautiful game, excellent combat, beautiful soundtrack, but my God, the amount of side content in that game is ridiculous. I put 90 hours into that game and I didn't even finish it, right? There's just so much content there that it just feels like bloat. But with Avowed, I feel like it respects your time. There's quality of life features, which I'd like to see in more games. The fact that when you become encumbered, you can send like items from your stash. You can send items directly to your stash, which I love that feature. Why isn't that in more games? Because let me tell you, the amount of times in a Fallout game or The Witcher, I've had to like hobble back in slow motion just so I can keep my loot. That's not a problem in this game. Absolutely love it. Another feature I like is that you're able to fast travel to your campsite, so you can get whatever you want done. Want to level up your weapons, armor, and all that stuff. But if you want, when you leave your campsite, you can travel directly back to where you left. That didn't even require a fast travel point. So just small features like that I'm really liking, because there's no waste in time whatsoever. I feel like none of the content is bloat. The side quests are entertaining. I feel like your choices actually matter. I mentioned this quest last week, but I'll mention it again. I think it was called Dawn Treader. I think it was called.
The dungeon one with the machine and all
Yeah.
the crazy choices, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's a side quest most people might miss out on, and it clearly is going to play some big part close to the end of the game. But hey, if people didn't discover that side quest, they had a completely different experience. I just think that's really cool. For some reason, people have this big issue with me liking Avowed, even though it's a reviewed game that's pretty praised. It's, I think, 80 on Metacritic. Now, last time I checked, an 80 on Metacritic isn't worth replying to everyone on Twitter saying the game's mid, saying the combat's terrible, and they talk about NPCs not moving around like it's an Elder Scrolls game. And I have to say, all those people are dumb, right? This is not an Elder Scrolls game. It's a Pillars of Eternity game. It's just first and third person, the amount of clips I see people going around complaining that you can't, kill like chickens and stuff. Why? Why are you even trying to do that? You're being sent to the living lands to basically save the place, and you have people complaining that they can't kill the townsfolk. It doesn't make any sense. But all that stuff aside, I'm having such a good time with the game. Is it flawless? No. I mean, I think the game's strongest point is actually its weakest, and that is you can be playing the game, you could be in a main quest, and the game lore dumps. You know, like when you do a quest and you talk to someone, you can read up on the lore, so you don't actually miss out on something. And I think that's really cool. Other games have this feature as well. So many people have told me, but it's a cool feature to have in a game. However, when you have a conversation with someone and they are telling you about a bunch of different things in this world, you have no idea what they're talking about. Like, if you didn't play Pillars of Eternity 1 or 2, they literally assume that you've played them and you know all the lore. So you can meet a random townsfolk and ask them for directions, and they'll say something like, "Did you see the Flibblewatsit down the street?" You don't know what a Flibblewatsit is, so you have to look up in the lore, see what that means, and then go back to what they said to figure it out. So, like, it being an extension of the Pillars of Eternity universe is really cool, and it has an extended lore, which is cool for an RPG. But if you are new into the universe, you're going to do a little bit of reading. Otherwise, you won't know what the hell's going on. But that is also its strong suit. It actually stays to the lore and mentions it, which I think is really important, because there's going to be a lot of Pillars of Eternity fans that pick this up, and you're going to enjoy the fact that this lore exists and it continues the story. So, that aside, I'm having so much fun with the game. And I think possibly the game's biggest, the best thing about the game is its combat. I never thought I'd play an RPG like this, in the combat being the best part. Because, look, I talk about Mass Effect all the time. That first game back in the day, the third-person shooting mechanics did feel a little bit dated. So, basically, in a Mass Effect game, especially the first one, you are looking forward to story. You're looking forward to conversation sections. So you push yourself through the gameplay, and you're rewarded with conversations, story, lore, etc. In Avowed, the combat is excellent. Excellent. And I haven't seen many reviewers mention this. Maybe they were playing on, journalist mode. So they just basically hit all enemies once with an axe and then ran away. But man, the combat in this game is excellent. Like, I'm that person where I hype myself up for an RPG. I gaslight myself into thinking, hey, I'm going to play as a wizard. And then the game comes out, and what do? Sword and shield. I do it every time. I did it in Elden Ring. I've done it in every single fantasy RPG ever. But in this game, the way spells work push me to use spells, and the spells are actually fun. And I think the way they've done the combat in this game is super smart, because there's spells with a spell book, and there's also a wand. But spells use mana, and your wand uses stamina. That's a smart thing. So basically, how I thought the game would play before it came out, it's completely off, right? The game's combat is phenomenal, right? Yes, it has a little tiny bit of that Obsidian jank to it, but who cares? If it plays good, and the story's good, and the soundtrack's great, the visuals are great, like, what can I say? Like, Logan, what did you think of the combat?
I really like the combat. It's very different, and every experience is unique, and it feels appropriate. Like, I have tried, with various encounters, different ways to combat them. Like, I've gone in with a traditional sword and shield. I've gone in with a sword and a dagger. I've gone in with two swords. I've gone in with a heavy warhammer or war axe or great sword. I've done a sword in one hand and a tome in another. I've done a pistol and a sword. I've done a magic book and a gun. I've done two pistols. I've done a rifle. There's so much different combat you can use, and all of them feel truly different. And some encounters require one versus another.
Yeah. So one of the things I noticed that in the second region in the game, there's these like mushrooms all over the ground which you can pick up. But sometimes
I hate those guys
yeah,
so much.
so sometimes you go to pick up some mushrooms so you can maybe make a stew or something. These little like mushroom dudes jump out of the ground and start attacking you. and they can't explode. So tip to people, I might post the clip on Twitter later, but tip to people playing, do not use a fire spell point blank range with those things. You will be flown across the map because they react pretty badly to those things. But yeah, I like the different opportunities combat actually gives you in this game. And like, for instance, I posted about this on Twitter and I'll mention it again. Like, I had to get across a pond, and a lot of players are going to experience this. Like, and the game kind of tells you how to get across the pond, but most people will ignore it. And all you have to do is use an ice spell and freeze the water and use it as platforms. And I've done that multiple times now, and it just feels really good for gameplay. And I think, the biggest takeaway of an RPG being its gameplay is a very, very good thing. Because some people will spend 30 hours in this game. Hell, Boomstick, like, he's spent, I think, like 100 hours in this game. And he's still got more to do. So, like, it really depends on how much content you want to go through. There's a lot of side content. There's bounties. There's loot. There's treasure maps which you can collect. I mean, some of the treasure is really well hidden. To the point where you may have walked past certain pieces of loot without realizing it. Another thing is vertical exploration. This game bloody excels at it. Because every time you walk past loot, it kind of makes this little, like, twinkling noise. And it encourages you to actually search for it. People have told me this mechanic's also in Fortnite. I can't say whether that's in Fortnite or not. My time with Fortnite was basically playing on a mobile with the sound off. So I don't know if that's in Fortnite. But hey, it's a cool feature. I wish more games have it. It is a shame that the game's kind of had this weird, I'm doing air quotes, controversy, because for no reason. People think it should be an Elder Scrolls game, even though the developers said it isn't. I mean, it's basically a fantasy version of the Outer Worlds. Choices, big and small, matter. You have region-based maps. And by the way, it is so nice to have a region-based game where you don't have miles and miles of nothing, and there's always something interesting. But I do think there's a bunch of ways they could actually improve the game. By the way, for people jumping in the show right now, YouTube's acting up, so if the audio sounds off or if anything acts up, just let me know in chat. It's been a weird day. But yeah, like, things I think they could improve on and add into the game, and I think they will, is New Game Plus. That is one of the most requested features. A photo mode. It is a bit weird having a AAA game in 2025 and not having a photo mode. Like, I understand if you're a game that you can't pause, such as Elden Ring. I completely understand, but with this, you can pause. Just stuff like that, being able to, transmogrify basically everything. I know you can do that with some stuff, but other than that, bloody good game. Highly recommend it. It's in Game Pass. And like Logan said, I do hope we see an expansion for this, because if I'm 20 hours into a game that I may end up putting 60 or more in, and I'm still wanting more, yeah, that's a good sign. I would happily see an expansion for this, and apparently it's selling well and performing well, so who knows? If it continues to do well, we could possibly see an expansion maybe the end of this year, next year. It's an exciting time, and I think Avowed may be popular enough where we could actually see an Avowed 2 at some point, because the developers seem pretty happy with where it's going. And I think this game will actually make the Pillars of Eternity universe mainstream, relatively. Because Pillars of Eternity is an extremely niche game. Granted, it's very high rated. Like, I think it's like 90 or something on Metacritic, 1 and 2. But this is just open up the universe to a lot of people that don't like tactical RPGs. So if you go from tactical games to first-person and third-person melee and magic-based combat, yeah, mass appeal instantly. I mean, why do you think a lot of people play Skyrim? Melee, magic, it's fun. Anyway, that's what I've been playing, and just lots of Avowed. What can I say? Now, we have a bunch of topics to go over in the show. Literally like 15 topics. Before we get into all the main topics, and we have like 10. Logan, you told me about this before the show went live. Apparently, Akklaim is back.
Yeah, apparently, Acclaim, who were the original developers behind Turok and some other franchises, in the 90s, early 2000s,
Yeah.
they've been resurrected under new leadership, and they're looking to partner with indie developers to make new games and resurrect franchises. So I thought that was noteworthy today.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, you see these studios closing left and right, and then you have Acclaim coming back, and they wanting to publish and develop small games, more games, new IP. That's always a good thing, you know. Uh, I've talked about this on the channel a lot, and I've mentioned it on Twitter a lot. Like my favorite publisher in gaming right now is Focus Entertainment. They put out so many different, unique, and cool games every single year, and they range from indie to AAA. But none of their games have bloat. They don't have microtransactions. Like they are a bloody good publisher. And you have like Embracer. They do like AA stuff and some indie stuff. Granted, they are a bit of a weird company because they fire all their employees like every other Tuesday. But like I think these smaller publishers, people really need to go out and support their games. Like I talk about Focus Entertainment all the time. Their games are so cool and unique. Like the game that's on screen right now, Hard Space Shipbreaker. I talked about that game for like a year and a half non-stop, and that's a Focus Entertainment game. I know last year they published Aliens Dark Descent, where like that's a very unique alien game. A very hardcore game and a very difficult one. But like
I love it. It's good.
yeah, I think they're gonna publish another Aliens game this year with Fireteam Elite 2. Hasn't been announced yet, but it basically likes. Um, so yeah, like every time they come out with a game, I'm wanting to try it because look, the AAA industry is a weird place at the minute. You know, before we continue, we have the first super chat of the day by Nick Wendland. Thank you very much for the $4.99. He says, "Would be cool if they brought back NBA Jam." Man, I played that game as a kid. So much fun. And basketball never really took off over here, but like NBA Jam, a lot of people played that. Like Logan, did you ever play that back in the day?
Oh, sorry, I was taking a drink. Yes, I loved NBA Jam, and I have the 360 arcade version. I remember playing with the arcade version with the joysticks, and it's like he's on fire. Yeah, they made a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just checking online right now. Apparently NBA Jam got ported to 7th gen consoles. I had no idea. What the hell? But yeah, NBA Jam, like that was one of those like I want to call it fun sports games. We used to have FIFA Street back in the early 2000s. I think there was like it was a very cool time for sport spin-off games. There was an American football game on the 360. I can't remember what it was called, and basically all you had to do was run past obstacles. If anyone can remember the name of that, I'd love it. But it was a Xbox indie arcade game. Um, Might have been called Blitz or something. I can't remember. But NBA Jam, what a game! What a game! Now I just want to play NBA Jam and FIFA Street. FIFA Street was so good. But yeah, what a cool time for like fun games like that. We used to have snowboarding games with SSX Tricky and all that stuff. Good times.
I miss those.
Yeah.
Those were great.
I think we tend to reminisce a lot about older games. It was a better time, you know. Uh,
It was before the dark times.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I see. Okay, it was called Blitz. Blitz on the Xbox 360. That like I don't even understand American football, and I put a lot of time into that. It was ridiculous fun. I would love it if these companies start bringing back, the fun sports games. Screw simulation like FIFA, Madden, NHL, all that stuff. It's always going to sell well. We need the fun sports games back. It just feels like it's died. That's why I'm looking forward to Tony Hawk. Like Tony Hawk, Skate. We haven't Skate 4, which should be showing off this year. Like it's going to be a really fun year for that type of stuff. But anyway, thank you for the $4.99, Nick. I honestly, I think NBA Jam will probably come back at some point. It has so much love for that game. Like, it doesn't matter where you live. A lot of people love that game. But yeah, like back to the whole Focus Entertainment thing. Like they are my favorite publisher. They put out so many unique games in the AAA space. It's a mess, right? You have Warner Brothers shutting down Monolith, who put out consistent good games. You know, they put out Fear back in the day. I will always talk up Fear. I love Fear. You know, the Shadow of Mordor games were actually good. The sequel was good despite its microtransaction launch. And, you know, they got shut down, which is terrible. But, like, the AA space to me is way more interesting. Developers are putting so much effort into these AA games that sometimes have AAA visuals. They clearly don't have AAA marketing behind them. But, like, look at, maybe, I think it was like a year and a half ago, right? RoboCop Rogue City. That is a AA game with AAA visuals. Unless you look at the characters, the environment in that game is phenomenal. Until you look at people up close, and it's like they look like they're from Morrowind, basically. But the AA space is way more interesting, which is why I always talk up Focus Entertainment and other publishers. Like, it's just a way better place right now. If anything, if the game crash does happen, which I do think it will, everyone's going to realize like AA games are going to be saving everything. You know, interesting games that aren't broken. I can't remember the last time I had a AA game broken at launch. Like, Logan, can you remember any?
It's been a very long time. It would have had to been a previous generation or two of consoles because nowadays AA devs know that they have to deliver immediately to get your attention and to hook you and to get you more into their lineup of stuff. They don't have the luxury that AAA devs go where they're like, "Oh, I'll release a half-baked product and put out an apology letter and you'll get an update down the line."
Yeah. You know, nail on the head there, because they rely on that money up front, and like they're not going to get the wave of hype of, you know, from Twitch streamers and, you know, big content creators, so they kind of need that. Like, people, seriously, look at AA games. You will find some bloody good gems there. You know what? While we're talking about studios being shut down and stuff, Monolith was shut down. That is like heartbreaking to me. They were a great studio, but one of the things that stuck with me, and a lot of people have been mentioning this, is the Nemesis system. The Nemesis system has to be one of the most interesting game mechanics in gaming in the past 15 years. There's been nothing like it, and Warner Brothers Games basically patented the hell out of it, and nobody else can use it. Like, that is an absolute travesty. And for people that don't know, the Nemesis system was basically that you would encounter an enemy NPC in a video game, such as, you know, Shadow of Mordor, and then let's say while you were fighting them, you burned their face by throwing them into like an oil drum. Well, they would remember that you burned their face, and then they would come back later in the game a little bit stronger. Maybe they'd have some minions of their own, and they'd try and attack you. And they'd remember certain things that happened during combat. And then they would actually go up the ranks if they killed you. So if you were defeated, they would become even more stronger and have better armor and better abilities. So even though you wanted to beat these enemies, you wanted to see where they would actually go story-wise. And you had these little dynamic storylines that would pop off because they would remember you. And we just don't have that anymore. And I think honestly, it should be a crime. It shouldn't even be allowed to patent gameplay mechanics. Because we've seen what Nintendo tried to do with Pal World. Apparently, none of that's happening, you know. Like, patenting catching creatures in, like, you know, a sphere. Like, come on. Like, Logan, what's your take on the whole Nemesis situation? Because we may never actually see that in a game ever again.
Yeah, I think it's a bunch of crap. Honestly, it's so dumb. Like, it, there's a lot of reasons why people dislike Warner Brothers and HBO and their leadership right now. This is just another reason to. It is ridiculous to patent a gaming mechanic and to hide it down. And then, not only do you have the audacity to do this, you don't even use it or allow others to use it now. It is simply like we own it and we're sitting on it and just if I can't play with it, ain't nobody gonna play with it. And it's ridiculous. It's why it was such a big deal that Nintendo was trying this stuff with Power World. And frankly, Nintendo's is even more egregious. Like, I love Nintendo, but they are like way over their skis on this one. Because if you were going to patent a mechanic, which I'm not a fan of to begin with, but if you were to patent a mechanic, shouldn't you have done this maybe back in 98? Or whenever you actually launched this game and made it a first available and it became a success instead of 30 years later saying, oh, this other company's having some success. Let's retroactively screw them over. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a punk move and it's a colossal shame. And I hope somebody comes up with something similar to the Nemesis system and calls it something else and makes it just different enough to where it's not a problem because it is a huge shame. Like, imagine if like they like if James Bond or whoever owns them now, Amazon or MGM or whatever, had patented like tranquilizer dart guns, or if somebody had patented grappling hooks, or parkour across walls, like Prince of Persia. Imagine Ubisoft had patented, parkour. Like, how different would gaming be if some companies had been that way? It's such a troll move.
Yeah, I just saw in a chat Nick mentioned didn't Nintendo patent the sanity system in Eternal Darkness? I decided to Google this. It turns out they did. Nintendo filed a patent for the sanity system in a video game. Um,
Which hasn't been seen
yeah.
in decades.
Oh God, why does this happen? What a, it's stupid. Like they shouldn't be
That
able.
game needs to come back. And
Yeah,
by the way, on a side note, like that is one of my top requests for Night Dive. If they can ever pry that out of Nintendo's cold fingers, please bring back Eternal Darkness. It deserves to see the light of day again.
yeah. I mean, I keep I keep adding Night Dive to like remaster the Rogue Squadron games.
Yes.
Like those games were bloody good. I mean, hell, the one off GameCube still looks good. But yeah, the whole
I
patent.
don't know how they got that on a GameCube, to be honest.
Yeah, I've no idea. Do you know, a bit of a tangent, but I remember. Uh, I think it was Electronics Boutique at the time. I can't remember. Like they had a demo station for Rogue Leader on GameCube, and there was literally a crowd of people just watching, blown away by just how this game looks. Because at the time, and kind of still, like it looked exactly like from the movies, and that was a kind of a somewhat niche Nintendo GameCube game. So yeah, but yeah, the whole patent thing for gameplay mechanics, it has to be the dumbest thing ever. Like, if anything, I hope Warner Brothers release it out because so many different games would work well with that. Like Assassin's Creed, I think Assassin's Creed with the Nemesis system would be borderline perfect. Just the way you interact with enemies in that game, and because Assassin's Creed needs sub bosses. My God, there's not enough bosses in Assassin's Creed. Um, Hopefully, they'll get some sense in them and maybe just pull the patent because it's not getting used. And by the way, while I'm talking about Warner Brothers, Wonder Woman, right? They put hundreds of millions of dollars into that Wonder Woman game, and all they had to do was make a Batman Arkham game, but where you play as Wonder Woman. That's it. And apparently they had the rug pulled out from them because of the Suicide Squad stuff. And like, look, Rocksteady, I used to say they're one of the best studios in the business. Clearly, they put out that game. It wasn't what people wanted, but Monolith, they didn't really have a dud. The microtransactions in Shadow of War was WB Games' fault, not theirs, and it's just a messy situation. But yeah, patents and games, Warner Brothers, they aren't exactly the best publisher at the minute. Let's just say that. You know what? Let's get into some good news topics because we have a lot to go over today. Stalker 2 hit 6 million players, which is very impressive because it's only available on series consoles and PC. And the way Stalker is, the first Stalker was absolutely huge on PC in the early 2000s or mid 2000s. Like, people played that for years and years and years. So, like, this number is just going to steadily go up over the next decade until they put out a third game. I dread to think how old we will all be when the third game comes out. But, and hell, the first game still gets mod support. So, who knows what they'll do with 2. And, with 2, we are going to get mod support on console, which is really good. They're also going to put out a multiplayer mode on console at some point. I mean, Stalker 2 still has a lot of things coming to it, and also I think we're still going to get next gen upgrades for the Stalker collection. Which, hey, I want to see what that looks like. Next up, we have Split Fiction. For people that haven't played any of their previous games, Haze Light basically make the best co-op games ever. A lot of co-op games feel like they're just an extension of the single-player mode where it's just 2 players. But Haze Light, they actually go out of their way to make basically everything feel different. Like, Logan, you've played Haze Light previous games, yeah?
Oh yes, I love their work. A Way Out, and Brothers, and It Takes Two. Like, they truly make every game feel like a must play, and it's truly fascinating how the campaign and the stories and everything directly tie to the fact that you are playing this with someone else, and that they actually reward you by letting you have a friend pass to where and they're an indie studio. And, frankly, AAA devs should take a note from them that one friend has the game, you have friend pass, you can play it with your friend and they don't have to buy it. That's how I've played several of their games. And it's a really cool move and function, and I'm so thrilled that this game is received well.
Yeah, so I just checked. It's got a 92 on Metacritic on Xbox, 91 on PlayStation. I think it's also 91 on PC. Like, across the board, it's
That'll
doing.
do.
Yeah, across the board, it's doing bloody well. And like, they've never put out a dud. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. Like, my God, that is heartbreaking. That game, like, completely blindsides you because I played that for the first time a couple of months ago. And even though you can play that by yourself, it's a completely different experience when you play it with someone else. But the game where you escape the prison, I played that in co-op, like, incredible. A Way Out, that was it. Like, incredible game, absolutely incredible. And as a Prison Break fan, amazing. And It Takes Two. It Takes Two. That game's just so much fun, and it's essentially about a couple that's getting divorced. And it's just so well done. But yeah, this game, it's basically 2 people are sucked into the story world, and one half of the game is fantasy, one half of the game is sci-fi, and the sci-fi looks extremely good. But the friend pass thing, like, it being a co-op only game, they are leaving so much money on the table. Like, you can't play against the computer. It has to be with someone else. And they're leaving even more money on the table with the friend pass. Like, how many other publishers would go out of their way to say, hey, this co-op game, you need to buy 2 copies. But they just like, no. I'm surprised EA doesn't push them to like, make sure you sell 2 copies each time. But yeah, the friend pass, like, it might be different in the US, but if you go to the top 3 games on Xbox, usually in the top 10, it takes 2 friend passes there. Like, so many people have played that game that it's almost always in the top 10 of top 3 games, shall I say. And this game looks fantastic, and it releases, I think, next week. So hey, people get it. If you're looking for something different, nobody makes co-op games like them. Anyway, we'll move on. So this game was actually 2 games were announced. We'll go over this one first. So there was kind of a game like about 6 months ago, and it was by the developers of Terminator Resistance and RoboCop Rogue City, and this game's called Terminator 2D No Fate. Nothing else was put out there, no screenshots, no GIFs, no art or anything. And we get the trailer last week. It was just after last week's show, actually. And my God, pure nostalgia trip. Like, Logan, did you see the trailer at all?
Yeah, it's like the love child of Contra and Terminator. It looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. I mean, it's already got like hundreds of thousands of views on Twitter. On YouTube, the trailers, because like, I think a lot of people are into like gaming now. They obviously love Terminator 2, and this is basically a pixelated Terminator 2. That scratches the itch of everything. I love Terminator 2. I love that sort of 16-bit aesthetic done that way. And yeah, that comes out this September. It looks bloody phenomenal. It has a great soundtrack. And I've said this with their previous game. I think the best version of the Terminator theme is actually in Terminator Resistance. It is like a more electric guitar version of the one from Judgment Day, the movie. So yeah, it looks bloody good. I think that game is going to do really well for the studio. And yeah, it's kind of done in the arcade way as well. So if you die, it has a little countdown, and you have Arnold Schwarzenegger's thumb sticking out of the molten metal. It's a nostalgia trip, right? They're basically selling it as nostalgia, but it looks so good. And the other game that was announced with gameplay is called Blades of Fire. Now, this game is actually being made by the developers of Castlevania Lords of Shadow 1 and 2. I think they're called Mercury Steam. And if people have been looking for a new single-player, third-person action-adventure game, this has got to be on people's radar, because I will say this, I like Souls-likes, but it feels like we're getting a lot of them. It feels like every single time there's a new third-person action game announced, it's a Souls-like. And I like Souls-likes, but I don't want everything to be a Souls-like. And this kind of looks like a God of War style game. It looks really good, actually. Logan, did you check the trailer out at all for that?
I actually haven't seen the trailer for this, but I've read a lot of comments and seen a lot of buzz, and it sounds awesome. So it'll be something I check out.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it's by the developers of Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Has that sort of style to it, the weight, but I think people are going to like that. Anyway, we'll move on. We'll talk about the Tony Hawk stuff, because Tony Hawk's had this weird history the past 2 years where there was a Tony Hawk remake of 1 and 2. It did really well, but for some reason, Activision completely cancelled the remakes of 3 and 4, which disappointed a lot of people. But clearly stuff happened behind the scenes since Microsoft purchased Activision, and we got the teaser in Call of Duty Black Ops, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and it was basically a countdown for today. And the website went live, all that stuff, and literally about an hour before the game was officially announced, a bunch of artwork leaks. That's got to be really annoying for the developers. It's like you're just counting down to show off your own game, and some nerd leaks it on Twitter. like what a kick to the gonads. But fortunately, the game looks bloody fantastic. and this looks like an even bigger graphical jump from the previous remakes from the originals. So like this game looks so good. Um, Basically the best way I can put it is the most next gen versions you could possibly have of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and 4, and like were those PlayStation 2 or PlayStation 1 games?
I believe they were PS1 and GameCube, maybe PS2. It's been a very long time.
Well, either way, I mean the upgrade from the originals, it's very obvious. I mean, lighting, even the gameplay, the movement, refined controls, all that stuff. It looks fantastic. Uh, One of the cool things is it has a Doom crossover. Oh, so it was on both. Okay, I was thinking, I could have sworn Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 and 3 were PlayStation 2 games, but hey, cross-gen games happen then. Um, but like, there's a Doom crossover with this game. I never thought a Doom crossover would work with Tony Hawk, but after seeing that trailer, yeah, it works. For some reason, it really works. And you even have the guy with the skeleton guy with the jetpack doing the doot with the trumpet. It works. It shouldn't, but it does. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be excited for this, and it does launch in Game Pass. The main trailer on YouTube doesn't mention that, but the trailer on Xbox's YouTube channel does mention that. Much like how Black Ops happened. But like, Logan, what was your takeaway from the trailer? Because it looks really good.
Oh, I'm so ready for this day one. Like, I had, a little hopium that it would be a shadow drop today, but, I'm cool. I can wait till July. It looks awesome. It brings back all the, memories and nostalgia. This was a series I grew up with playing with my brother. So it means a lot to me in particular. So I'm really excited to see 3 and 4 come back. And they're adding new levels, like
Yep.
new tracks to go to. They're adding new songs, and they're adding new apparel and skateboard customizations. And they've obviously revamped everything physics wise and visually, and added new characters and skins. And Doom and the Revenant being in there is really cool. Like, it makes sense because they're both like from that 90s punk era.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, I saw some old screen grabs, but Doomslayer was in an older Tony Hawk game as well,
Oh
but
wow.
it was like the older Doom style, like with the green armor
Yeah.
and kind of the the more square looking helmet, like from classic Doom. So I guess there was a tie before, but Xbox owning both Bethesda and Activision certainly helps. And I have to say that Doom Dark Ages coming out the month or two before this comes out is that's pretty good collaboration timing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it looks bloody fantastic. I mean, I'm not one. I mentioned this earlier today on Boom Show. Like, I don't really care about what my character looks like in games. Like, I never really go for premium skins. Um, However, uh, getting this game 3 days early with the deluxe edition upgrade or deluxe edition, that's kind of tempting. I mean,
Hmm.
one of the things you get in the Doom package is that you get this. It's hard to make out what it is, but it looks like a skateboard, but it's a hoverboard made of basically bones and flesh.
It's the Unmaker. It's like the alternate version of the BFG. It's like the super dreadnought gun.
Yeah, well, it looks fantastic. Um, but I think a lot of people are going to be picking this up. I was actually surprised by its price. I was expecting this to be, $69.99. In the UK, it's $39.99. Didn't see it coming out
That's
that.
a good price.
Yeah, and what's funny is I checked the price of the deluxe edition upgrade. It's £20. So may as well just get the game, you know. Um,
Mhm.
but hey, I mean, I like the fact that Microsoft, they are still, and Activision, they continuing the whole deluxe edition upgrade thing, because we've talked about this like 50,000 times at this point. Like, I think, giving people the opportunity to maybe pay a little bit extra to play it early is the way to go instead of jacking up prices. But yeah, £40 in the UK, that's a pretty good price, especially for 2 games. And you said there's new maps, right? Yeah,
There's new levels they've added specifically for this.
yeah. So it looks like it's going to be a great product. I love the fact that skateboarding games are finally coming back. Like, for some reason, we went, 15 plus years without skateboarding games being much of a thing. Skate 3 came out in, I want to say, 2010. And basically nothing since. And even the 360 generation, we didn't have many. It just feels like it's a genre that kind of killed it. Do you know why I think the skateboarding genre kind of died off? I think it's because Jackass ended and the punk rock scene kind of mellowed out a bit. You know,
I agree.
like in the late 90s, and I will say up until 2008, 2007, like punk rock, especially in the UK, massive, absolutely massive. And then it just kind of fell off a cliff. And the skateboarding scene is kind of part like that. So, hey, maybe we'll bring back emo at the same time. Who knows? Good time for skateboarding fans. While I was talking, I actually looked up because I like one of the more niche Tony Hawk games, and that's American Wasteland. Right?
hmm
I bloody loved Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. I think that one also had Steve Owen and Bam from Jackass as well. Well, anyway, I just looked online. I'm actually angry now that I see this. So I had the original version on the original Xbox, which it turns out it came out in 2005. Which,
Oh gosh, it's that old,
yeah,
man.
well, this is why I'm angry at myself, because I had no idea there was a 360 version. Damn. Turns out that came out in October 2005. So I completely missed out on the I might have to try and find a 360 version of that. Huh. But yeah, skateboarding culture. Hopefully it comes back. I mean, it looks like Skate 4 will be shown off this year because it was first announced, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was announced while we're all stuck in the house. Like, Logan, can you remember those summer showcases?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yeah, the whole anemic drip feed of like every so often one publisher would have like a 30-minute stream and everybody'd be using these potato quality monitors to talk in their office and show us stuff. And then they had a, hey, we're making skate. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
And that was essentially it.
Yeah, and that's basically how Skate was announced, Skate 4. But hey, it's cool that these games are coming back. I I do hope they continue to make Tony Hawk remakes because I mean, like it was trending #1 today. Clearly, there's a lot of people wanting it. But Logan, do you think we'll actually see other Tony Hawk games after 3 and 4 come out?
I think there's a very good chance, yes. I would say that, you know, assuming that the support for this is as high as it looks like it will be, we will be seeing more. Whether it's brand new or not, I don't know yet, but it wouldn't surprise me. Tony Hawk himself has said he wants the franchise to come back and get going, so there's clearly a desire. And, related to this, like Microsoft, please, like I don't know what queue order you have for getting these Activision games into Game Pass, but if you don't get Tony Hawk 1 and 2 into Game Pass before 3 and 4 hits, that's just a huge miss. Like that needs to happen.
Yeah, we'll be talking about that stuff any minute now. But I just checked online. So Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 came out in 2002. But after that, there was Tony Hawk's Underground 1 and 2. And oh my god, they were coming out every year. Wow. So yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 came out in 2002. Tony Hawk's Underground came out in 2003. Underground 2 came out in 2004, and then American Wasteland in 2005. My god. I could not remember that. Okay, if anything, it looks like we'll get Underground next, which was actually developed by Neversoft back in the day. My God, the years are just going,
Such
aren't
a
they?
cool logo.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
and I still might pick up the one that was on the Xbox 360 Connect, uh, just for a joke. Why not?
The one with the little level board that you try to stand on.
Yeah, like I saw people demo that off in public, and it looked embarrassing, but I might just get it for a laugh. But yeah, that's Tony Hawk. It's coming back, and I assume it's going to do well. I mean, these remakes, they already have uh, what the game should look like, how it should play. So like, I don't think this will be like a $200 million game, but hey, it should do really well. And the thing is, I'm actually hoping they do Underground because I went straight from Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 to American Wasteland, so I'd love to be able to play these games because again, I missed out on them. But hey, more Tony Hawk coming in July isn't actually that far away. Now, Logan, I know you want to talk about this because it is actually a big topic and not many people are talking about it. So Phil Spencer has done about 47,000, you know, interviews this year already, and we all hear the same things, right? It's always about is there an is there an Xbox portable? Is there going to be next gen hardware? Tell us about multi-platform games. But the truth is, we want to know more about Xbox Activision's back catalog. Because look, when the ABK deal was first announced, people online were going, "Oh, we're going to hear about Call of Duty going exclusive, or Call of Duty marketing going back to Xbox." Where me and Logan online, we were talking pretty loudly about it. Like we were looking forward to the back catalog of games. Screw the new Call of Duty stuff, which we'll be talking about in a bit. But like, it was the back catalogue of games, the superhero games, the Crash Bandicoot games. You have Transformers, Cybertron 1 and 2. You have the Spider Man games. You have Wolverine, X Men Origins, right? The list goes on and on. What were those isometric Marvel games people talk about all the time? Ultimate Alliance.
Ultimate Alliance.
Yeah, people. I get messaged maybe once a week about, is Ultimate Alliance coming back? I wish I could tell them, but like I get asked all the time, and look, I get it, and I said this back in November, right? I think that Microsoft, they are holding off from putting Call of Duty in Game Pass, older ones, because they want to maximize the amount of money people get into Black Ops 6. Right, Black Ops 6, absolutely huge. They have the Terminator skin at the minute, which is doing really well. But look, I get it, right? You're not going to put Call of Duty Black Ops 2 in there and, have the entire fan base go and play this, 13-year-old Call of Duty game that doesn't have microtransactions. Realistically, that doesn't make sense. So I understand that. But, my God, where the hell are the Transformers games? Where is the Crash Bandicoot games? They own Crash Bandicoot. We can't talk about licensing, right? I'm putting my foot down, right? Where's the Crash Bandicoot games? Where's the Crash Bandicoot Xbox 360 games? And when this ABK deal was first announced, Logan, can you remember the rumors, I'm doing air quotes, about the quote-unquote Activision backwards compatible batch?
Yeah, it's been this open secret or whatever just floating around for ages that there was some batch being worked on, or that something was going on with that department that they had said we're done. But then when you spend $70 billion to buy the one of the largest publishers on earth, you suddenly gain access and full control of a whole bunch of franchises you didn't have rights to before. So that became this is a revision to that. And just like when Bethesda, they acquired Bethesda, they were able to make some more. And then, ABK allowed them to even deal with some Bethesda games that were locked because, it was originally independent and they had worked with Raven and then Activision and Bethesda and like a whole bunch of license nonsense got screwed up with all those. So, like, your Hexens, your Quake 4s, your Quake Wars, your Return to Castle Wolfenstein, your Wolfenstein '09, like, all this should be a click and you're done. Like, obviously, with back end, working on things, but still, it's like you own them. What is the deal? What is the problem at this point? Like, and Transformers, Marvel, James Bond, all these that everybody wants that are licensed franchises, like, I want them too. I desperately want them back. Those are more of a not entirely in their camp to be able to get done. Like, I think they should get them done. They're a, multi-trillion dollar company. If there's a will, there's a way they can get this done. But like, some of these should be inexcusable. Like, you completely own these. What is the problem?
Yeah.
And what is taking so long? Like, not even just for back catalog, but for the ones that are already BC. Like, are you telling me that, all the old Call of Duties that are already BC and then the other Crash games and all these other things that are BC can't just a click of a button be in Game Pass by now? Like, really? Like, hitting on 2 years now? Like, what is the deal? It is, it is egregious.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to think that some things are happening on the back end because a bunch of Call of Duty games got Windows Store listings, even though they aren't available for purchase. You have Singularity get listed on the Windows Store, and apparently there was another relisting on Xbox for Singularity the other day, but then it was pulled. So there's
Mhm.
got to be something happening behind the scenes. And like, do I think we're gonna have like this huge, this huge like Activision Game Pass drop? I don't think that'll happen. But like one or two, like come on, like even though these are old games, right? Like, can you imagine the reaction online if hypothetically the Cybertron games do get made backwards compatible and put in Game Pass?
They'd lose their mind.
Yeah, like when the Activision deal went through, or it was first announced, shall I say, uh, Transformers Cybertron was trending on Twitter in the UK at 2 in the morning. People were talking about it, but people were wanting it, right? But it's just that we are waiting, and I get it. Maybe there's some legal tape they have to cut through and all that stuff. But I'm impatient at this point, right? Honestly, I have these sealed copies of the Cybertron games right next to me. I'd prefer to not open them. uh, I just want to leave them kind of, sealed for eternity because they are basically collector's items at this point. Uh, I I I buy them digitally. I don't care. I just want these games. And like you were talking about, the Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remakes, those make the most sense for Game Pass right now because they own them. The 3 and 4 are going to be in Game Pass, so that it's not a big deal, right? So, like, is there any legal tape for the first two? We don't know. And, some people added me today saying it was today's Game Pass drop anemic. Honestly, I'd say a little bit, but at the same time, it's like we get two main Game Pass drops a month, and not but they aren't always going to be big, right? There's big games coming to Game Pass soon. You have South of Midnight next month. You have Expedition 33, Doom the next month. So like, there are big games coming, but I think that they really need to come out with some Activision games, right? Maybe me and Logan are being a bit impatient. I get that. But my God, like, just pull the band-aid off already. Hell, I prefer that they would just tell us, right? Say, hey, these games, because Phil Spencer did say early on, look, there isn't going to be a big drop straight away. I'm perfectly fine with that. But give me a time period, right? Is it this year? Is it next year? Is it 2030? Like, just let us know because people are waiting. Like, there's a lot of fans for these Activision games, and if they can sort out the licenses for even some of the superhero games, a lot of people are going to be very happy. I mean, again, Transformers, I'm sure Hasbro want like these games will sell. For people that don't know, like in the UK, I'm guessing it might be the same in the US. Like, in the UK, there's 360 games that are usually in the top 10 of top paid games because people like revisiting those titles, new people and discovering them, and like that's one of the beauties of backwards compatibility, right? Basically, a catalog goes on for years, and I think that if these Transformers games, and I am singling these ones out, like they would see significant sales even though they would be in Game Pass. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being hopeful, but it's been months and months, and we need to know something. Like apparently this month we are going to get like, was it Modern Warfare 3 might come to Game Pass this month?
Um, it was either Modern Warfare 3 or it was I could have sworn I had seen somewhere that there was something floating around about Modern Warfare 2, the original one from the 360, coming to Game Pass very soon.
Like those servers are being fixed, so maybe Microsoft are just wanting to hold off a bit longer because when they fixed all the server problems last year, or might have been the year before with the older Call of Duty games, like the original Black Ops had over 250,000 people playing. That was just on 360 on the 360 version. They don't have shared servers. So the fact that they fixed it and all these people had access to it, like Black Ops 1 was number 1 on the store in the UK, right? Number 1. And the store goes by revenue, not units sold. So that was a lot of people buying Black Ops that day, and I think it was $12.99. I bought it as well. So yeah, there's just people waiting. We want these games. People might joke about Activision only making Call of Duty every single year, but they have some really good games in their back catalog. Like
They used to make other stuff.
yeah, they used to before every team was basically put onto Call of Duty maps. What a travesty. Um, I think I'll never forgive them for that. You have Raven Software making Call of Duty maps. How dare you? like,
That one is all time egregious because they made you know um Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy, Jedi Outcast, Singularity, a whole bunch of other really good shooters and like really cool games. And then now they're making map packs for Warzone and stuff like come on now. Like how far have they fallen? This is just wrong.
yeah. I mean, look, I love Black Ops 6. I think that campaign's ridiculously good. But when you see the credits roll and you see like the 10 different studios like listed at the bottom of the credits, it's kind of heartbreaking. Like, so you tell me there's individual developers, Raven Software or whatever, that are maybe making skins for Call of Duty. Ouch. Like, I'd hate to be working there. But yeah, hopefully we see this stuff soon. I mean, again, Modern Warfare 2, like Logan said, should be coming this month. But yeah, it's a weird time. Anyway, we'll move on. Hopefully we see this stuff really soon. While we're talking about this stuff, Logan, you the one that sent me this. Apparently, uh, Activision's gauging an interest in a particular way, right?
Yeah, it is totally bizarre, but apparently some people discovered a campaign from Activision where they were using AI to generate fake game titles and put them out there in well-known franchises of theirs to gauge interest in those franchises and the ideas that were being presented for like fan surveys and stuff instead of like doing what a normal company would do and post surveys and send questionnaires and stuff. So like they had a Guitar Hero mobile thing pop up and it had this AI generated image of guys on a stage and then like the button layout from the guitar like the red, yellow, blue buttons and stuff. And then they had like a Call of Duty spin-off thing. And then like they had a Crash game that was like a multiplayer like extravaganza thing. And they were all fake and not real games. But they were like, "Hey, do you like this idea? Would you like to see this franchise happen? Or would you like to see this franchise come back? Let us know." And it was just, I don't know, just very weird.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, the thing is, I've had like a million surveys off Activision in the past, and they just bog standard surveys asking what you'd like to see in the future. I get a lot from Capcom; they put a lot of surveys out. My God, the amount of times I've told them to make a bloody Dino Crisis game.
They
Phew.
probably have that phrase like, brain wiped from employees or something because it's like we don't talk about Dino Crisis.
Yeah,
Ugh.
but like even the Activision thing, like I would love Guitar Hero to come back. Love I Guitar Hero 2, like I was obsessed with that game. I
Love that game
the
so much.
the soundtrack, the guitar, like everything about Guitar Hero 2, I absolutely loved. Um, and we'll never get to play it again because I can only imagine what it's like to sort out licensing for a 17-year-old Guitar Hero game, possibly older. Um,
Licenses suck.
yeah,
I know they're necessary, but frankly, the gaming industry, one of their top issues is how awful they are with licenses. Like, get it together. Make it like the film or TV industry because this shouldn't be a thing.
yeah. It is a bit weird how you can watch a film that was made in like, I don't know, like the 80s, like Back to the Future song, Back to the Future film, and then like imagine if they had to take out one of the songs. They had to take out Johnny Be Good or something, like that'd be bloody weird. But for video games, we just have to accept it. If I remember correctly, Alan Wake, the original version of Alan Wake, got delisted on Xbox Live for about like I think like 2 months once because they had to renew the licenses for the music. And good on Remedy, they actually sorted it all out. The remaster and all that stuff got fixed as well. But man, licensed music, like. But if we do get Guitar Hero back, I hope whoever makes it, they do not try and do what the last Guitar Hero game did. What an absolute mess. Uh, like the guitar had 6 buttons, 2 rows next to each other, and it was kind of like a live service, kind of, and it had free music that would rotate in and out, but it had this look that it was kind of copying Spotify. It was such a weird product of its time and absolute garbage fire. Don't know what they were thinking.
Was that World Tour? Was that the last one they made?
It might have been, or it might have been Guitar Hero Live. It was a weird time because I think Rock Band tried to come back at some point as well. Actually, I'll try and search for it now. Guitar Hero. What was the name you said it was? World Tour.
World Tour. Like Tour. Yeah.
Guitar Hero World Tour came out in 2008, so it's a different one. But
Okay.
but basically the one that came out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 was absolutely terrible. I don't know what they were thinking. Even the design of the guitar itself, Guitar Hero Live, that's it. Uh, the,
Okay.
the guitar itself, I don't know what they were thinking. They removed all personality from the controller. It no, nobody wants that in their life. Um, we're just on a nostalgia trip today. I just want Guitar Hero 2 back. But yeah, I mean, them to make fake games using fake AI art, like to gauge interest, is definitely a unique way of going around it. like, um, I wouldn't particularly do that. I would just put out polls on social media. I mean, hell, you can do polls on YouTube. Like they could easily do that in their social feed, but I
I
mean, who
mean,
knows?
Survey Monkey is a site they can use. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, but Activision, they are definitely weird. But yeah, what a weird way of doing it. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? Oh my god, there was a huge Call of Duty leak yesterday, and some good stuff and some bad stuff, but honestly, some really surprising stuff. So basically, this year we are meant to be getting a Call of Duty Black Ops 2 sequel, which is meant to launch October, November. And next year we're getting Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. Now, for people that played Modern Warfare 3, you can tell that was originally meant to be an expansion, because my god, it is the shortest campaign I've ever played for a Call of Duty game. Logan, did you play Modern Warfare 3's campaign?
Yes. The newest one or the OG one?
The new the new Modern Warfare 3.
Gosh, they really got to rename that.
Yeah.
No, I haven't played the newest Modern Warfare 3 yet. But I know it's basically an expansion, but charged full price just for grins and giggles.
Yeah. Like my god, like I'm one of the nerds that likes to play Call of Duty for its campaigns, and
Me too.
that thing was like 4 hours long. In fact, there's a mission, and it's a secondhand embarrassment, right? There's a mission in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the new one, where literally the entire chapter is you walk through a courtyard, you go through a building, and then walk up a flight of stairs. That's it. And then you're in a different chapter, in a different place, playing as a different person. Like, the fact that they had that as a actual chapter means that they were scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and make the game last a little bit longer. But what they really did was make the game last 5 minutes longer. That's it.
Did
And if
they give you an achievement called cardio or anything
I
for
bloody
that?
I bloody wish. And by the way, while we're talking about that, I hate the way Call of Duty works now with the headquarters thing. So you don't have Call of Duty with its individual achievement lists now. It's all under Call of Duty HQ, and
Oh, that sucks.
all of the achievements are mixed together. So when Black Ops 6 came out, I wanted to check out what the achievements were, and I was seeing achievements for Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2 and 3. Like, stop it. Right, I get a lot of these companies are moving away from having individual games and they just want one launcher. Like Assassin's Creed in the future is going to have a launcher. I think that's a disaster, by the way. And if you look at Fortnite, Fortnite has individual games in the Fortnite launcher. There's basically a Lego GTA Online in there. You can also play Rocket League in Fortnite. You can also play Fall Guys in Fortnite. I don't know why the industry is obsessed with this single launcher thing. Stop it. It's cringe. I don't like it, and it mixes up my achievements. I don't like it. But anyway, this year we're meant to be getting. Sorry, next year with the launch of the apparent next gen console, we're getting Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, and this is going to be a full-on campaign. Thank God. It won't be releasing on Xbox One and PlayStation 4. That's huge. Like, Activision, they kind of jumped away from the 360 and the PS3 as soon as they could. I think the last one that came to the Xbox 360 and Xbox 360 and PS3 was, I want to say, Black Ops 3, and it was multiplayer only. Yeah, that was it. It was
There was Ghosts and Advanced Warfare had
yeah.
360 versions as well.
So like it did have some Call of Duties cross gen, but some had features taken away. But yeah, Xbox One and PlayStation 4, no Call of Duty next year. I'm actually shocked because there's tens of millions of people on last gen consoles. Like, I love Call of Duty campaigns, don't get me wrong. And graphically they've came a long way. I think Black Ops 6 it looks phenomenal. But I'm actually shocked because it's a pretty dynamic engine. They can do a lot with it. They can scale back with it. I mean, hell, the mobile, the engine works on mobile. So they must have some pretty epic things planned if they plan on moving away from last generation technology. But anyway, it's also in development for the next generation Xbox. Dev kits are already out, which I'd be interested to see if any of those leak. I mean, it's an Xbox thing, so it's probably going to leak at some point. It just feels like everything leaks. The engine updates, engine updates to fix visual clutter issues. So like Modern Warfare 2 and 3, and not as much in Black Ops 6. Like, there's a lot of visual clutter in some places. Sometimes the screen can go blurry when a lot of things are happening. Uh, it's not the biggest issue, but it's good that they're fixing it. But the big thing, which I think a lot of Call of Duty channels aren't really talking about, is that Call of Duty Warzone may not be supported if the latest map does not do well. That's huge. Like, the amount of millions of people that play Warzone, and they might just ditch Warzone altogether. That is huge, because that will be the first major battle royale game that gets pulled essentially from new support. So whereas you have PUBG that's been going on for years, and you have Fortnite that's been going on for years, Apex unfortunately is a thing. I will never forgive Respawn and EA for letting Apex exist instead of Titanfall 3. But this is a big thing, really big thing. Who knows what's going to happen with that? I know Warzone has had its issues over the past year with the amount of cheaters online, and look, I think a lot of people are unhappy that. I'll be honest, I love Black Ops 6. I think them putting Black Ops weapons in Warzone was bloody awful idea. They just don't work. It's a bad fit. Like, the omnidirectional movement plays lovely. I get that. But having the Black Ops weapons in Warzone, it just doesn't work. Am I saying that because I win less? Maybe. But they just don't play as good as the Modern Warfare weapons. But yeah, that's some big Call of Duty leaks. Either way, it looks like we're getting a brand new big Modern Warfare campaign next year, which, hey, I'm one of the 5% of people that really plays for the campaign, so I'm sold. Like, Logan, what's your take on the Call of Duty news? Because you don't actually play multiplayer or Warzone, but what do you think about the rest of the news?
Oh, I'm excited. Like, it sounds great. I'm looking forward to a new Call of Duty. I think them making it next gen only is really smart. And if Xbox were so inclined to try to sell some hardware, you could really, really bang home the drum of Game Pass and, like Xbox specific marketing and bundles and stuff. And, you might get some converts because Call of Duty is that big. Don't make it exclusive, but have all this Xbox imagery and, tie ins. And if you make it next gen only, you might get some people to switch. Really. Like, it is one of the few franchises that could do that.
Yeah. Uh, we'll talk about all the next gen stuff now because uh, Call of Duty, they have huge history with Xbox. The Xbox 360 launched with Call of Duty 2, and like back when that came out, that was a big deal. You had this
I
60.
thought it was mind blowingly real at the time, which is hilarious
Yeah,
now. But
like now it looks it looks bloody awful, but back then, like, but can you remember how mind blown people were with King Kong?
oh my gosh, that game rocks. That should come back, by the way. It's a side note. That is BC if you own the disc or already had it digitally. Like, that is one of the best movie tie-in games that no one has ever heard of. It is fantastic game.
Yeah, when that came out, everyone was like, "Oh my god, you could see the individual pieces of fur." And like now you fire it up, and oh my god, it looks awful. But yeah, uh,
Yeah,
definitely a product of its time. And the film, I think the game's actually better than the film. I did not like that movie at all.
I agree.
Like the scene when they're running alongside all the CGI dinosaurs. Oh,
Oh gosh, yeah.
awful. Absolutely. You have Jack Black trying to run. Like, it it just wasn't good. But the game was fun. I mean, hell, that was one of those games back in the day where everyone passed around a copy to get all the achievements. like, like back in the day, me and my friends actually had like just there was these games that would just float around because they were easy to go through, easy 1000G. There was that. There was Quantum of Solace and the Lost video game. That was a terrible game.
I don't remember that one.
You're not missing out on much. It was terrible, like absolutely awful. Um, but yeah, what we were talking about. Oh yeah, Call of Duty. So yeah, Microsoft has this like strong, history with Call of Duty. With the launch of the 360, and like, look, they could leverage it in their way because all signs kind of point to next gen Xbox coming out in 2026, and like it being the marquee console to play Call of Duty on with whatever features that console's meant to have, and Microsoft has not let on what those features are. Um, it could be a big thing for Microsoft, and speaking of like next year with Microsoft, like they basically going to be kicking off 2026 with a Fable game, right? Fable out of the bank, out of the gate, I say. Um, and like it looks great. It looks fantastic. Like Logan, by now you've checked out the Fable gameplay, yeah?
Yeah, it looks fantastic. That Balverine is like truly like one of the best looking werewolves I've ever seen. Like the sword play, the magic, the narrative. I'm very excited for Fable.
Yeah, that game looks fantastic, and it getting like extra time for polish is great. I mean, this year is already stacked, but like we should be getting a Gaze of War game next year. Now, the weird Gaze of War leaks have kind of been all over the place for years because I feel like we hear about this Gaze of War collection every week, and I normally don't talk about it or bring up the Gaze of War collection leaks because I feel like when it comes to this leak, it's the what's that term? A broken clock is right twice a day approach. Like if people keep guessing that is a gaze collection is coming, and then when it eventually comes, they can say they're right. I'm not saying that's what these people are doing, but like we've been talking about a gaze collection since 2000 and what 15. Like the
It
hypothetical,
feels like a decade at this point. Yeah.
yeah, like the hypothetical Marcus Phoenix collection. It's just never happened. We got Ultimate Edition in what 2015 or 2014. Um, but like when that
It's
came out,
great, by the way.
yeah, bloody great. Great version of the game. It came with the PC chapter, which was exclusive on PC. Gorgeous visuals, newly directed cutscenes. It's all this. It's essentially a remake of Gears of War, and they did a fantastic job with it in Unreal Engine 4. But like, if this collection is real and it's meant to be releasing this year, is it going to be Ultimate Edition style? I'd hope so, because Gears of War 2, it's one of my favorite games of all time. I adore that game. So to have them in Ultimate Edition form would be bloody phenomenal. I'll be getting that this year. I honestly don't know. I think the industry is so shook up at the minute by scary Rockstar games that like look, if you look at any of the release dates that's been announced for this year, they say vague 2025 are coming soon because none of these publishers, Microsoft, Sony, EA, Ubisoft, I mean hell, we meant to be getting 2 Assassin's Creed games this year, and one of them's meant to come out in November. Ubisoft hasn't even announced it yet. So what the hell's going on? Like everyone's scared of GTA. By the way, I feel like I end up ranting about GTA every week and Rockstar games. Like, by the way, this might anger people. I think Grand Theft Auto 5 is possibly the most overrated game of all time.
You wouldn't be the only one to feel that way.
Like, you sold 250 million copies. Like, nice, but I would have preferred a better game with single player expansions. But yeah, like a lot of these developers are waiting for the end of the year. Like this year is already stacked for Microsoft. So like, when exactly are they going to launch a Gears of War collection? It won't be September. I doubt it. I think August would be a safe bet. That's when they launched the original Ultimate Edition. But October onwards, that's a tricky time for developers. All these publishers are basically waiting to hear back from Rockstar Games, and Rockstar Games, they put out a trailer in December 2023 and then just wiped their hands clean, and they haven't said a word since. right? That's how confident they are in how it's going to sell, and that's what other developers don't like at the minute. We bloody don't know anything, right? There's a game by Ken Levine called Judas. It was originally meant to come out by the end of March this year, and apparently it's been pushed back to an unknown date based on Rockstar, essentially. So it's going to be a weird year for all of Microsoft's releases and basically everyone's. So like Logan, do you think the Marcus Phoenix collection is real?
I don't know, man. Like, I keep going back and forth on it because I'm like, on one hand, I don't think it's even necessary because I think 2 and 3 and Judgment all are like enhanced and look really, really good on the Series X as is. Like, they've done phenomenal work, the BC team. You know, bravo to them. They run great, they look great, and they've held up pretty well. Obviously, if you could have a Gears Ultimate style remake of 2, 3, and Judgment or whatever, like that would be awesome and I would take it absolutely. I'm not sure it's necessary. As for if it exists or not, um I'm kind of leaning towards it does at this point because assuming that they are fully committed to this get all their games everywhere approach, that you've got your Gears franchise, you need to reintroduce it to everybody. What would be easier than trying to jerry rig something for 2, 3, 1, and Judgment separately? Older games get ports. This, like, instead of just putting them all into one little package, remaster package, and sending them elsewhere. So for that reason, I think it is real, but I'm not like a strong, like, bet that farm on it kind of confident in it.
Yeah. I think it's just been rumored for so long. Most people just, I think it's like it's an albatross at this point. Um, we don't know if it's happening, but hey, I mean, look, I'd be interested. I play Gears of War 2 pretty regularly, and on Xbox Series X, it looks great. You know, it's 4K,
Hmm.
60 HDR, all that stuff, and my God, like there's parts of Gears of War 2 that still look good. Gears of War 3, what they were doing on 360 back then, bloody incredible.
The
Uh,
Azura section is gorgeous
yeah,
still.
yeah, and that like I know it's not a lot of people's favorite game, but Gears Judgment is probably the best looking game on 360. Like what they were doing with the environment back then, mind blowing stuff. You know, it's up there with Halo 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5. Like it was actually incredible what they were doing on the machine. But yeah,
People Can Fly did a really good job. Like, I'm in the minority, but I actually really like Judgment and what they were trying to do. Like, did they nail everything? No. But I like the idea of optional objectives and the idea of this campaign with the characters and to learn more about this new squad and then connecting to what happened in 3 that we didn't see on screen. Like, I thought the way they came up with those ideas was good.
yeah. In while we're talking about in defense of Judgment, the epilogue for Judgment is it basically takes place the same time as Gears 3's ending. That is the best part of the game, in my opinion. Like where you're
Mhm.
on the massive like oil tanker going down
Cool.
the mountain. Uh,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it was such an original thing, and it tied into Gears 3. Honestly, I think them putting the change weapon to Y that made a lot of people angry. you know, we
Almost like sprinting.
yeah,
It's just not allowed.
yeah, like switching weapons with Y like every other weapon. It made people lose the marbles. Whereas we've been playing Gears of War, switching weapons with the D-pad for as like what 8 years at that point. And it had a cool co-op mode, the monster wave mode. That was really cool. was kind of like Horde but different. You got to play as tons of different kinds of enemies. It was pretty cool, but I mean, hell, we'll know soon enough. And it's going to be a weird year, especially for remakes and stuff, because this isn't actually a air quote leak. It did leak, and that is the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, right? That was in a leaked document during the Activision Blizzard stuff, and like Microsoft accidentally put that out, and it listed basically everything coming by Bethesda over the next couple of years. So like everything on that list is essentially coming out at some point, and apparently Oblivion is meant to be coming out by the end of July. So it's like, when are you going to announce the bloody thing? you know, sooner rather than later, I hope, because this year it's absolutely stacked for video games, and it's getting to the point now where I honestly don't know when Microsoft or any of these other companies could actually announce things. They just had their developer direct in January, and it was pretty good. We got the Ninja Gaiden 4 announcement there. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, remake was announced there. Shadow dropped. I honestly think that these companies are going to struggle to find release dates because there's so many games coming out. Like, Logan, do you think that the Oblivion game is still going to come out this year?
Yes. And I think it'll be a early summer release.
Yeah. I just want to see it in action. I've played Oblivion so many times, so many hours put into Oblivion, and for people that think about it like this, a lot of people that pick up that game, it's a new Elder Scrolls game, right? There's an entire generation of people that their only avenue into Elder Scrolls is Skyrim.
And frankly, Skyrim is better in some categories, but Oblivion was a lot better in some other ones.
Yeah. I saw in chat, do we think Fable will get a trilogy? I don't see it happening. If I might be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure Fable 2 source code was lost. I could be wrong.
No.
I'll have to check.
That would explain no Fable 2 anniversary.
Yeah, but by the way, now that you mentioned that, Fable 2 anniversary would have made so much money. Like Fable 2 in the UK was massive. There's posters everywhere. Everyone was talking about Fable 2. And Fable 2, what a bloody magical game. I love Fable 2.
I love that dog.
Yeah. There's an achievement at the end depending on which fate you picked. But if you turned your 360 off at the right moment, you could pick a different ending. So you didn't have to play the whole game 3 times to get all 3 achievements. But my God, that game was good. And in the end, I chose to save my dog. Right?
Same.
Screw the wife and kid, right? I can have more of them. I can't have more of my dog, right? So, I chose the dog in the end. And that was a weird game, by the way, back in the day. You could marry whoever you wanted, sprouted as many kids as you wanted. You could even catch certain things in that game. I won't say what you could catch. But yeah, very cool game.
Didn't they have blackmail in that one too, or was that the third one? Like where they catch your infidelity and they try to bribe you or something. There was a whole bunch of crazy stuff in Fable.
Yeah, I think that was also in 2. I used to set it up so I'd get caught on purpose.
Okay, yeah.
Just because I thought it was funny.
Like an episode of Maury, everybody just comes out.
Basically, yeah. But my God, Fable 2 was so good. I mean, who knows? If they do have the source code, maybe. But when it comes to their old titles, I think Gears of War, and that's pretty it. I mean, look, I talk about Lost Odyssey basically every week. I would love Lost Odyssey to get a remaster. Maybe give us difficulty modes, because that game is excruciatingly difficult. And I'm talking about that blue worm, which I think I might actually have PTSD from. By the way, what the hell were they thinking about making the first main boss in the game the hardest boss in the game? Like, there's bosses you fight halfway through the game that are huge monstrosities, nowhere near the level of difficulty as that worm boss.
I
Like,
guess they wanted to tell you this ain't your daddy's Final Fantasy. Like this is something else. And a JRPG tangent. One of my least favorite things in the world is like when you get to the end of the game and there's this final boss, and then it makes you have to do waves for that final boss, or do a boss rush of all the previous bosses, and then you get the main boss, and then he may have phases himself. It's like, dude, let me beat this game. I've done my rights. Come on.
yeah, JRPGs can have some weird, annoying bosses. I may have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again since we like ranting about JRPGs, and people can experience this. For some reason, there's someone shouting outside my house. But it's probably someone drunk. But people can experience this on Xbox now, and that is Final Fantasy X. Right? Final Fantasy X is, it might be my favorite in the franchise. I'd have to think about it, but I adore Final Fantasy X. Well, anyway, there's a boss fight in Final Fantasy X where you're fighting the main boss in the game called Sin. It's basically this giant space fish whale thing that can fly. It's hard to explain, but it's also your dad. Spoiler alert for what a 15-year-old game. Oh, bloody hell, 25? Oh my god. Uh,
We're anxious.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was thinking, Final Fantasy X, that's 15 years old. No, add another 10 to that. Bloody hell. But basically, you're fighting, you're on this ship going through the ocean, and there's this fin sticking out of the water. And this fin is like maybe the size of like a building. It's pretty big. It's a fin, right? And you maybe spend an hour in this boss fight, finally defeating this fin. Right, the fin goes back into the water, and you have this just sigh of relief, right? Thinking the boss fight's over, but you're wrong. Then another fin raises from the ocean from the other side of the ship, so you have to do the same boss fight again without any saves in the middle, no checkpoints. I almost took out the disc and snapped it in half. Right, that was punishing beyond belief. I was actually insulted by that. I was offended by its existence because that was made to be unfair. Made to be unfair. Which is why I was kind of disappointed when the remaster came to Xbox. There's no difficulty modes, so yeah.
Seriously, there's not. They don't have a skip the fin mode.
Honestly, like as much as I love that game, I would love to skip half the bosses in that game. My God, every time you fight Sin, I don't know what they were thinking. The end boss with Sin, where you're fighting on the airship against Sin, I actually stormed out the house at that time, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, as a kid, I stormed out the house angry because of this boss fight. My God, I think my blood's boiling just thinking about those boss fights. But yeah, JRPGs. It's one of the reasons why I want Lost Odyssey to get like the remaster treatment. Like, give it some difficulty modes. Like hell, when Mistwalker's newest game came to Xbox, Switch and PlayStation in December, they put in a difficulty mode called Normal because their game was known to be hard. Right? That's how hard these games can be. um, but yeah, Fable. I'd be shocked to see a collection. I think it's going to be a weird year because Microsoft they have so many new games coming out, but they also have studios working on apparent Gears of War collection, the Elder Scrolls Oblivion remake, and also the Fallout 3 remaster, which might come out next year. So like, it's going to be a busy year for everyone. I think it's going to be good if you like the variety of new games and old games. It's good for everyone. And the cool thing is, it all launches a Game Pass, which is really cool. Logan, have you got anything else to say before we start to close out the show?
Oh, on that Game Pass topic, since we just talked about it, it still blows my mind that Lost Odyssey and Blue Dragon aren't in there. Like there must be some licensing or something. Again, the big trigger phrase in gaming, like that causes awesome games to disappear from history because of some obscure contract written 20 years ago on paper that's been lost or source code or a company no longer exists. But yeah, like Blue Dragon or Lost Odyssey, two of their biggest Japanese games, two of their best games, are not on Game Pass for reasons.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what the story's up with that. Like, maybe it's some licensed music thing, but then again, it was all produced in house. So maybe Mistwalker just don't want it in the service. But then again, Microsoft publish it, and I think they own the rights to Lost Odyssey as an IP now.
I
Um,
think so.
so like it makes no sense. And the thing is, it would make a lot of sense for them to put them in Game Pass because like JRPGs in Game Pass, there aren't a ton of them, right? Like I can't think of many. So
Octopath agrees.
yeah, Octopath. I think there may be some final. I don't think Final Fantasy is in there anymore, but there used to be a bunch of them. But yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest. I love Lost Odyssey. Talk about that game all the time. I could never get into Blue Dragon, even though I've bought it digitally and I own it physically. I just could not get into it. I do want to give it a proper go at some point. Uh, I think I actually figured out why I couldn't give that game a go. So for people that have the collector's edition of the original Mass Effect, it actually came with a demo for Blue Dragon. Uh, and me jumping from sci-fi third-person shooter to whatever that game was, I think it threw threw me off a bit. Um, but yeah, uh, hopefully Microsoft add them to Game Pass because Lost Odyssey, what a bloody gem! Like people call that the real Final Fantasy 13, even though I actually like 13.
Hmm.
Bit controversial, I know. Um, who knows? Maybe they will at some point. I think it's just one of those weird things. Like, I think you could tell me and Logan are annoyed today because we've seen this a lot on social media in the past 48 hours. Like the amount of people that just aren't asking Microsoft questions when it comes to certain Activision games and Game Pass, like it baffles me. And I know a lot of these questions are like showing up front to like check what they're gonna ask, but like nobody has asked Microsoft in any form about the Activision games, and that blows my mind. Like nothing.
It's like, do you think they're just scared of losing access? Do you think it's as simple as that? I mean, because Microsoft, for their part, has not been like Sony, where you get blacklisted if you dare to criticize Last of Us 2 or something like that. And then they're like, we're writing your editor because we want to know how you justify the score. Or, like, workplaces just don't get codes anymore. Like, there are British publications that keep getting codes, even though they keep giving their games like a 6 all the time. It's like, so I just don't get it.
Yeah. Uh, you mentioned the UK outlet. I assume you're talking about Metro.
Yeah, they're one of them, and then either Game Reactor or Game Radar. I can't remember if they're British or not, but
Yeah.
they often give Xbox games a 6 as well, just like a default score.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, there mustn't be a problem with asking these questions because you're right. Metro, they get review codes for basically everything, and they always give them a 6. Yeah, like, hey, this critically renowned game everyone else loves, we'll give it a 6. They do it time and time again. But who knows at this point? I just hope someone, maybe IGN, I don't know, like somebody, ask these questions. Why isn't Lost Odyssey in Game Pass? Where's the Activision back catalogue? They don't even have to put like look, if they worry that Call of Duty will interfere with Call of Duty, why not put the Spyro games in there or Crash Bandicoot or anything, right? But yeah.
Heck, Prototype doesn't like. Are you really going to worry that Prototype is going to interfere with Crackdown 3 numbers? Like, I don't think anybody cares about that. You could put Prototype in there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And speaking of Prototype, I was actually wanting to play that recently because I have the 360 version, which isn't backwards compatible, as far as I know.
It's not.
And you have the. I'm not even going to call them remasters because the versions on Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they are legitimate, bare bones 360 ports. In fact, they perform worse than the 360 versions.
D Masters.
Basically, yeah. They exist just to exist. That was a weird time for Activision, wasn't it? Like the early Xbox One, PlayStation 4 generation, where they basically ported a bunch of games and just never really advertised them. And then they delisted these games basically 6 months afterwards, like Deadpool Definitive Edition. I think that was
Mhm.
only on the store for 6 months, and then they pulled it. Like, why even bother at that point? um, Maybe one day we'll find out. But anyway, everyone in chat has been awesome. I apologize if audio has went out once or twice today. For some reason, YouTube has had its issues, and Discord is just not working properly today. But I hope the audio's been fine. A little bit of a channel update regarding me and my health, which I was going to mention earlier on the show. I put out videos once a month of upcoming games. I couldn't in February because behind the scenes, I've been having respiratory issues. I've been having pretty bad time breathing. I haven't really talked about this on social media. To the point where like my face has gone like purple, right? You'd think I'd literally painted my face purple because I just couldn't breathe. Like all this like weird aftershock of having bronchitis, and it's hit me in the really bad way. I've had it for months, and for some reason it's getting to the point where like if it gets any worse, I have to go to hospital. Um, but that's why I couldn't get out February's list, and I have a video coming out soon, hopefully tomorrow. But long story short, I'm having breathing problems, which is why sometimes we have to end the show early because literally, like as Logan knows, like we sometimes close out the show, and like I'm struggling to speak. Uh, it's some pretty serious health stuff that's going on. I don't normally talk about health stuff because who cares. Uh, but it's hopefully stuff I can get sorted. I'm one of those people that I don't like going to the doctors. Right, no matter how serious it is, I do not like going to the doctors. Like here's a little secret for everyone that's listening. Uh, I had a serious knee injury before the pandemic started. And do you know what I did? Nothing. I was so scared to see a doctor that I didn't see a doctor, even though I had a serious knee injury and I let it heal by itself. And that's something I have to live with. Like, I have to laugh about it because it's sad. But yeah, I have a serious knee injury which I have to live with every day because I was an a-hole and didn't want to go to a doctor. That's me. But anyway, that's why sometimes videos have been coming out late because again I can't breathe. But anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing. We'll be back the same time next week, same time as usual. Hopefully my video will come out tomorrow. Again, apologize for coming out late. Hope everyone has a good day. We're out, everybody. Peace.